know where to begin. At church funeral services, we'll handle it all with care. Church funeral services.
Looking for the ultimate game day experience? Come to the Queen Casino in Baton Rouge. Wall-to-wall TVs mean you'll see every touchdown in HD. Place your bets and feel the thrill of every play with our DraftKings Sportsbook. The Queen Casino, where every moment.
Brantley Gilbert. The Off the Rails Tour 2024. See Brantley Gilbert performing at Raising Cane's River Center, October 10th. With special guests Adam Calhoun and Demon Jones. Get tickets now at Ticketmaster.com. It's going to be one hell of a night with Brantley Gilbert, live in concert. For more, visit BrantleyGilbert.com.
Seafood, our weekend brunch isn't just a meal. It's the moment you've been waiting for all week. Begin your legendary weekend with brunch favorites like our shrimp and grits, crab cake benedict, and of course, bottomless mimosas. Let's be honest, the party doesn't start until Don Seafood hits the table. From our team at Don Seafood, we want to thank you for the past 90 years and cheers to many more together.
Run for Schrock, but he can't bury. Schrock grabs it back, curls away from his check, him behind the net, picks it up on his stick, and he gets the Michigan! Scott Schrock, a highlight reel goal! All right, welcome back, folks. I know we had a little issue there with some of our fans tuning in on YouTube, so we should be good now. Andy Poetzinger here alongside Everett, Coach Everett, and we're just kind of going over off-season plans and kind of what goes into building the team for this upcoming season. So just to kind of rehash it real quick, what were some plans that you did have after talking with front office and things like that heading into this season?
Yep, so some of the big plans were acquire 3 lines of depth that where one line necessarily maybe doesn't overpower the other 2. We have some, hard to think of the word here, but, make some equal players here, make sure everyone is on the same page. So then your drop-offs aren't any big, and then, really revamp our back end. Find 6 guys that are going to go to work for us every week, week in and week out, and just, wear that Zydeco logo with a lot of pride, especially in the back end. It's not always exactly the most glorified position, especially defense. The stats don't always jump off the they don't always jump off the page, but it's really it's the most important position I find for film to actually watch because, like I said, it's statistically it might not exactly jump off right away and be, wow, but you'll watch them play physically in front of the net, or you'll see them play a player one-on-one, and you'll go, okay, this guy kind of justifies himself to what we really want, which, unfortunately not everyone can score. Last year, I think our most successful games that we had down the stretch were 1-2 goal games. So I think, you got to put that in perspective. There's a lot more defense that goes into hockey than scoring. So with that being our mindset going into this year, it's really, like I said, revamp that back end to support our goaltending coming in this year, which we're really excited about. Yeah, and speaking from somebody who has lived in Chicago his whole life, one of my favorite defensemen of all time is Nicholas Hjalmarsson, who you look at him, he's not going to put up a whole bunch of points, but you look at him in the defensive end, he is just stone cold solid, right? That's the kind of thing that you're looking for. Exactly.
Yeah.
Just some, you're always going to have one or two guys that might get, in the 30, 40 point range. If, you maybe get one guy gets in that 50, 60 range. If he's having a great year, things are going everything right. But, you'll see those guys at the end of the year, they'll finish with a 10, 14, maybe even less than that point range. But, you go look at that plus minus and that's where that kind of tells maybe some of their story, where some teams, obviously, it doesn't. Last year, plus minus for our team, to an extent, didn't tell the whole story, where, hopefully going forward, our plus minuses can be a little bit higher. So.
That would be ideal.
Exactly.
Yeah. Plus minus is one of those stats where you're like, it's legitimate, but it's also kind of not, right?
Depends on the situations of the team. So there's a lot that goes into it, unfortunately.
Yeah. Let's talk about just transactions, especially over the offseason. There's a lot that happens. I talked about it before. You look at the transactions page on the FPHL website, and it's, there's at least 20 new ones, throughout the league every day. What goes into putting a transaction together, whether it's a trade or whether it's giving somebody a PTO? What are some of the steps that kind of need to be taken there?
So they're all definitely different. A PTO offering is essentially when we find a player we really like, and he's essentially a free agent coming out of either junior or college, like we talked about, and then or played in a various pro league that wasn't ours.
Mm-hmm.
And from there, we can give him a PTO or a standard player contract, and his rights for training camp or going into the season would then belong to us until he makes the team and plays for us all year or not. It's just, we're bringing for training camp, we're bringing in 30 guys. They're all on either standard contracts or PTOs.
Mm-hmm.
The difference of them right now isn't necessarily a lot.
Right.
Once training camp happens, that's when those all really matter.
Okay.
Everyone will be signed from training camp to a standard contract regardless.
Right. Now, and those players, do you have just kind of a list of them or, guys circled that, you might have seen play, that kind of a thing? Or is it legitimately, word of mouth, talking to, people who are in the league or, connections that you might have of, hey, keep an eye out for this kid. I feel like he could be a good fit. Yeah,
that's a good question. I think what goes into it is it's both, to be honest, because you always are going to have the guys you have circled, right? I think you have your guys that you have circled that are realistic, then you can go, and kind of put some clouds around some guys that, I can dream about this, maybe it'll happen. If some stuff happens, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
So there's both, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then there's also agents in every corner of the world right now that are offering players to every team. So you really just got to, like I said, it comes down to watching the tape, seeing who's available when, and unfortunately for these types of leagues, who doesn't get a real job. So,
right.
If someone gets a real job that pays money, that might be the end of their career. So
yeah,
you got to find, like I said, it's a lot of timing's very essential for this.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and you mentioned watching video a couple different times. A big part of being a coach is being able to watch video and watch it religiously, really.
Yep.
So did you get that same kind of did you get the same out of watching video as a player as you do as a coach?
It's different. When you're a player, it's all individual based.
Yeah.
It's how am I trying to do this? And as a coach, it's all team. I have to kind of approach it as, here's how you individually help us.
Yeah.
And that's the game within the game of, because every player here wants to not only be here, but they also want to be in the league above this.
Mm-hmm.
So it's what role makes the most sense for you, not only here, but maybe in the next level as well.
Right.
And, those are hard conversations sometimes to have with guys that, are coming from colleges or programs where they've been, the guy to score the goals,
mm-hmm.
and, they got to come into a lesser role. There's some give and take in that. So, and the success the guys find at different levels it varies. So, like I said, it's a lot of give and take when it comes to that type of stuff. It's just really kind of all on an individual basis.
And what a phenomenal teaching tool that is, especially for guys like you said coming out of college, where this, and this might work at the collegiate level, but it's not going to work here, right? So being able to kind of sit down and actually watch it on video and say, hey, here's why this happened. It doesn't work here anymore.
It's different games. A lot of people don't understand that when they come to a single A hockey or double A hockey, the East Coast League and below, it's
mm-hmm.
three-line hockey, where collegiate hockey in most of Europe is four-line hockey, and the AHL and the NHL, it's four-line hockey. So there's 2 to 3 more jobs essentially available on the bench to your disposal every game as a coach and in the roster, where we only have not only the 19 to 20-man roster, but then in game days we only have 18 guys. So it really does become a limited amount of – you've really got to trust your guys you have, because at any given minute they have to contribute. So
Right. Well, we talked about college players. What does go into – a kid who just finished up his college season, signing them kind of right out of college? Is that somebody you've been talking to throughout the year, or is that more, hey, I saw that your season ended, you're the kind of player that I'm looking for, here's a contract?
So that's where it comes back to both. There's a handful of guys that'll be here that I watched last year that I was very impressed with collegiately, that, like I said, I was able to watch them play, and some of them even went other places and proved it in a sense a little bit, but they're going to come here now and get a real sample size of not only this league but what professional hockey is.
Yeah.
And we're really excited for that, because we're just looking to make those subtle improvements that are going to make a big improvement down the line here.
Yeah, and we're going to talk a little bit more about what's coming up with training camp and all that good stuff.
Exactly.
But it's certainly a different team put together from last season. A guy like Noah Robinson, who was the leading scorer last year, right? He's going to need to be replaced. What do you do to fill that gap? How do we find somebody to fill that gap?
He's going to go on. Noah went to the SPHL.
Yeah.
He was a great player here, and we wish him the best in his future endeavors. But we were really excited to get Roman Gaudet and Elijah Wilson in here. I think they're two players that have been in situations that haven't really, like I talked about earlier, got the most out of them yet. So they're two players where you look at them statistically right now and go, that's okay, but I think when we're going to be here in April, they might be a little different. So,
Yeah.
And that's the type of things we're looking for here.
Well, Wilson is pretty much a point-per-game guy, right? And Gaudet is a 6'5" monstrosity who can also produce some points too. So what roles are you expecting them to kind of take on for the upcoming year? Or is it a little too early to kind of figure that out?
It's a little too early necessarily to say that. I think both their skill sets are definitely, like, just looking at the tangible things, there's differences, right? One's 6'5", one's 5'11", 6 foot, so they can do different things. Gaudet has a lot of ability. It's seeing what he brings down here when he comes down here on this ice and where everything comes to fall. Wilson, he's an extremely hard worker. He's putting a lot of time in the summertime. I'm really excited to see what he can do, but it's another thing where he's got to come down here and really push himself when he gets here, because, this is going to be a competitive team to even just make out of training camp.
Right, absolutely. And moving away from guys up front, talking about Colgan, a guy like Colgan in the net, right? Yep. He's a top 5 goaltender in the league in most categories. How important is it to get a guy like that who, if somebody's going to be able to get through your first 5 guys, you've got that last line of defense who's one of the best in the league?
So they say goaltending is either 80% of the game or 90% of the game, depending how good or bad it is. So we're really looking for Colgan to come in here. He's been consistently good wherever he's been. He's played for good teams, but I believe that what we're going to put in front of him this year will give him the ability to do what he's always done. So I think he's going to come in here, take that role, hopefully, and it's going to be competitive still. We've got 2 more guys right behind him that are going to be right on his heels, and I think competition's a good thing.
Absolutely.
If you're afraid of competition, this probably isn't the spot for you, because it's every day has got to be an uphill battle here, and it's this league is that. So I really think Colgan's going to come in here and do what he's done throughout his professional career. He's put up consistent numbers wherever he's been so far, and we expect him to come in here and do that for us.
Yeah. Returning guys, even though we do have a lot of newer faces around here, we also have a pretty decent chunk of returning players as well. What are you expecting from your returning guys?
So they have an idea kind of my expectations, but just kind of running with a little bit of what they've learned from last year, and also being good students amongst what we're about to introduce and imply this year. I approach this as a student of the game. I think if you're not learning from it, it's just too many things happen throughout it to think that you know everything. So you have to approach it as that, and I hope my players approach it the same way, so we can all, I have my ideas, but we're going to definitely, structure our team to the best suitable for when we need to win. And how that formula works, it could be what I have right now. It could be something different in 3 months. That's the fun in all this.
Right. And we've also got free agent camp coming up next week. Training camp is going to be after that. There's also going to be kind of an inter-squad scrimmage as well. Obviously, with this kind of a thing, you want intensity, you want game speed, you want game play. Are you looking for guys to also try to find the line a little bit as well, though? Because at the end of the day, there's a good chance that they're going to be teammates at some point.
So, like I said before, competition's a good thing.
Yeah.
The line is make this team or don't. That's kind of where we're at with things. This fan base deserves the best team possible.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm here to deliver, is the best team possible. And I think we've got a really good roster formed here with the 26 to 30 guys we've got. Mm-hmm. And from even in the free agent camp we have coming up still. And, there's always going to be someone trying to get a job in this league. It's just the nature of this beast. So comfort in single-A sports I don't think it really exists, which is good, though. I think it gives us the best performance from our players, because for the next 6 to 8 months, however this marathon goes, they'll be hungry and they're going to give our fans the best product possible.
So with that scrimmage, that training camp and things like that, is this really going to be your first real opportunity to kind of see what your team is gonna be pieced together like?
Yeah, I think October 17th we'll have an idea, but we're taking the 1% better every day approach no matter what. So if we can improve, we're going to improve. And that's just like I talked about earlier, the nature of this beast. We're in a city where championships happen, and the expectation should be that, and anything less is unacceptable. So I think that with that culture around here, you kind of have to be in that, or else, what we have right now is awesome. And to continue it and to gain it and to get more of it, you just need to keep winning.
Yeah. And with the inter-squad scrimmage, is there anything specific? Obviously, we talked a lot about competition, but outside of that, is there anything that you are looking to try to get out of that inter-squad competition?
It's going to be a good time for the guys that have maybe been in places where they haven't gotten a ton of ice time to get those close to in-game reps.
Yeah.
We don't have a preseason game on the schedule, and we're not going to. That will be our preseason game. So this is those guys' opportunity, a chance to really get their feet wet in a game-like situation and kind of feel that situation out more so than in a few weeks. We're going to be right into it. It's a real game. There's points on the line, and that's what matters then. This game is to not only get some more conditioning in for the guys, but to get those reps in to get prepared for October 17th.
Well, it's got to be such a good way for those guys to mesh too, right? To start, being teammates with one another, even if they're playing against each other. It's got to be a good way for them to learn each other's tendencies and just to kind of get a little closer too. A little team bonding.
Jim Harbaugh says the body craves contact, and I think I'm a firm believer in that. And these guys are going to get to know each other a lot during those 4 to 5 days. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah. Perfect. All right, we're going to head to a commercial break, but we will be back right after this. You're listening to the Zydeco Coaches Show here at 1717 Restaurant at Queens Casino.
Fall in love all over again with Shrek the Musical, an epic tale filled with hijinks, adventure, and lots of gassy fun. I know it's today. Shrek the Musical.
Tickets on sale now.
The Men's Network started when I went to a computer club meeting in the 7th grade that Brett organized. At that point, I had never met anyone that was as good at computers as Brett was. And by the 8th grade, we figured out that this was something that we could do professionally.
So we moved to Baton Rouge to go to LSU, and that's really where our business got planted.
Give Immense a call. Let us show you how IT should be.
So when you think you're playing
ultimate game day experience? Come to the Queen Casino in Baton Rouge. Savor game day platters and snacks, plus drink specials at 1717 Kitchen and Cocktail. So come out for game day and let our team make you the MVP. The Queen Casino, where every moment is a win.
For over 90 years, Don's Seafood has been a Louisiana staple. From the finest Gulf catch to the most authentic Cajun recipes, our commitment to quality and tradition is who we are. Enjoy favorites like our gumbo, jacked up shrimp, seafood salad, steak, and of course, our signature seafood platter. Don's is more than just food. We're a celebration of flavor and family. From our team at Don's Seafood, we want to thank you for the last 90 years and cheers to many more together.
Run for Schrock, but he can't bury. Schrock grabs it back, curls away from his check, in behind the net, picks it up on his stick, and he gets the Michigan! Scott Schrock, a highlight reel goal! All right, welcome back, everybody, to 1717 Queen Casino. We're back with Coach Everett Thompson. Now, last week we talked with you a little bit, and obviously we had some issues on the live stream. So we want to go over just a little bit more about just your background, because you are a little bit of a fresh face still here at the Zydeco organization. So let's go back to your childhood playing days. You played some travel hockey growing up, and you ended up playing some high school hockey over at Kanoa Hills.
Kanoa Hills, yep.
Kanoa Hills, yeah.
Yep.
All right, so Michigan is obviously a huge hockey hub, right? What did you notice as far as differences between travel hockey and high school hockey? Were they kind of along the same path, or was one a little bit more competitive than the other? It's
definitely changed since I was a kid. High school hockey now, depending on where you are, even in Michigan, is a little different, but it was high school when I was playing was still seen as very competitive. We didn't really have AAA hockey in my part of the region, so we all played for our high schools, and it was competitive. It was a lot of fun. You get to play in front of people you went to school with. My school still isn't exactly the best
right.
maybe in the area, but
right.
Back then we actually had some pretty competitive teams, and we used to get it's more. We used to say it's more fun to play in front of our friends than the AAA guys that are going down to play in front of no one. So.
Right. And then you ended up, after high school, going to Northern Ontario Junior Hockey League, the NOJ.
Yep.
What made you want to end up going up north for juniors instead of kind of staying local?
So back in that time, there was some North American League teams right in my neck of the woods. We had Kalamazoo, we had Port Huron, was in the Null at that time. And then there was a team in Flint as well. Mm-hmm. And right around that time, it was just one of those leagues that was really tough to crack. So I went up north, and I was able to find a team there, and I found a coach I really liked and trusted, and kind of went on a tryout on a whim after getting cut from a team, and ended up sticking up there for 2 years. So it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, and you did really well in those 2 years, 30 goals, 46 assists, 76 points in 100 games played, and to boot, you got a championship out of it in the 13-14 season. So what was that experience like? Obviously, anytime you're able to finish your season on a championship, it's a win.
we got lucky with the coach that I had at the time. He kind of really set the mold for kind of the precedence of how I'd go forward, in my opinion. His name was Mark LaFleur. I gave him a lot of credit to my success at that age. He was coaching in major junior, came down to our league to be a head coach, and he just really implemented like a lot of professional systems and a lot of things that like at the time was, at least at that level, wasn't really being done. It's a lot more video work at that time. It's just he had a lot of stuff that at the time a lot of the teams weren't doing, and it really gave us an advantage that year. So, and like that's really where I found that love for watching the video and watching the individual clips and maybe the team clips. And he really did a good job of teaching all of that stuff because he was actually a teacher by background. So I found that very interesting, having a teacher then teach us. Was a lot easier for me to grasp, especially some concepts, because they were difficult at first. Coming from high school hockey, it's not as always structured.
Right.
It's a lot of run and gun, a lot of, if you're good, you're good. If, you're not, you're in the way. Where in junior, you can kind of formulate things similar to pro almost, where you play a system and, you're working with your team a lot more. Where high school, you might practice 2-3 times a week. Junior is just like pro. You're practicing Monday through Thursday.
Every day, yeah.
So you get that rhythm and you really get to know your teammates and you get that bond. So then in a small town like that, where I'm from, it's like kind of known, you go up north and you play junior and you're going to get that fun experience of playing in front of, in high school you might play in front of 300-400 people, including your parents and a few students. You go up there and that's when you get the first experience of like, oh, this is 1,000 people that are, the whole town's here. Like this is a lot of fun. And then when I experienced that championship there, that's where you really got to feel the whole town was there. It's Kirkland Lake, Ontario. If you find it on a map, it's way up there. But once upon a time, it was said it's the city that made the NHL famous, because I think it was like 66 players of a town of 10,000 at one point went to the NHL. So it was really cool. And then the rink around it, there's a painting and a mural of every player that's played. So you see teams from all the original 6 teams are up there, and then some even like obscure teams that were in the WHA that don't exist anymore. But it's cool because you're skating and they're right there.
Yeah, you see the history.
The rink is in a it's cold. It's kind of the meeting ground for everyone. So
it's a barn.
It's the definition of it, kind of.
It
so
is
it was
a barn.
A lot of fun. You really get
awesome.
close to your teammates because there's not a lot going on up there. It's hockey or snowmobiling or hunting. So.
Now, did you guys end up having like a parade or a big party with your crowd? Or?
So the way it works is when you win your junior A league, you actually keep going. So we won our league, and then you play in another tournament after that called. Then it was called the Dudley Hewitt. It's not that anymore. Right. But after you win your league, you continue to play. So as much as you want to celebrate your victory, you actually have to keep playing.
Got the next
one.
So
yeah. So we didn't get to celebrate that as much.
No.
We ended up losing in the following tournament and came home with our sorrows. But you actually, so it's even kind of hard to be like super pumped about it at the time. But looking back on it now, it was like awesome experience. You're playing from August to May, or I think I didn't end that year till June, which was just crazy.
Oh my goodness.
And then so I mean it's a lot of hockey. I think we played like 80-something games that year, which is close to an NHL regular season, which I don't understand how those guys do that year in and year out. After doing that once, it's taxing. It's it's a game of hockey does take a lot on you, especially when you're doing that much of it. So
yeah, and playing at a high level like you were, it heightens up once you get into playoff time. It's a whole nother beast. So I'm sure everybody was walking away with some sort of bump and bruise.
The fun part about that league too is in those junior A leagues in Canada, they do best of 7 series for playoffs still too. So it's actually like a ton of fun. It's the most fun you can have from 16 to 20 years old. I always tell people if they can play junior hockey, it's an experience that you literally can only get one time. So if you can do it, because once you're 20, you can't play anymore.
Right.
So.
And those 7-game series, there's some serious hate that comes from that. There's some blood that boils, that's for sure.
There's some players that I played with and played against, and it's always funny because you go up in the ranks, and then, the pool of guys gets smaller and smaller, but then you recognize the faces and, hey, remember from junior, and, all that stuff kind of comes back up throughout the year. So it's funny, especially when you recognize someone from way back then.
Right. You're a good old ACHA man as well. We all know I love my ACHA players. So spent 4 years over at Davenport.
Yep.
How did you end up choosing Davenport? I guess we'll start there.
So there's a coach there named Phil Sweeney. He's still there.
Great guy.
Yeah, he's been in the ACHA. He's kind of like a legend in the ACHA, almost, you could call him. He's been around forever, and he just, I think I was in maybe 10th grade or 11th grade, and he started saying, hey, Davenport, it might be just start skating. And then I played those 2 years at junior, and I'll be honest, at one point it was like one of those thoughts where it's like, that's my hometown team, I'm too good for that. But then, how college kind of works is you see the money aspect of it and how much things cost, and then, that hometown discount starts to seem a little better if I don't got to pay $20,000 to live in a place. That's yeah. So after college, or after junior, I chose to stay home, and the level of competition and the team that they had was very good. There was guys from all neck of the woods at that time on that team, and even coming out of a team that had just won a championship in Canada, I stepped into that team and was not even near the best player on the team. So it was a really good experience. It was a lot of fun. It's definitely one of those programs that we talked about earlier within the ACHA that kind of does things right. It's all the hockey itself is no cost to players, which at various schools it does cost some extra money.
Pretty
sometimes
decent
just
chunk
to
of
play.
change.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot of benefits to them. And it's in a fun, Grand Rapids back home is a fun little college town.
Yeah.
It's not the same as here, obviously. It's a different experience. Smaller schools, different, cold weather. So not the same, but it's definitely different.
Well, and Davenport was a wagon back when you were playing.
Right
that
before
was
came,
a real
we
good
won
squad.
4 national championships in a row. That was right before I came, and then we went to one Final Four, which was a blast.
Yeah.
You wish you could have won one. We got real close, and but at the end of the day, I can't say anything. I loved my college experience.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and you were a model of consistency when you did play in college. You were about 30 points per year. I mean, almost like right on the button. How did you? Were you always kind of a consistent player, or was there something that kind of changed for you that really kind of clicked?
Consistency. I'm sure my coaches would have argued no, but college was one of those things where it clicked, especially against some games, and my coaches trusted me. They let me play my style, and some days it worked. Some days, obviously, they'd yell at me and kind of gave me the rundown of the reality.
The head,
exactly.
yep.
This is. But at the end of the day, college was a lot of fun. My teammates were great. At the time, we were a good team, and with that, stats come. So I had a lot of good teammates, and they, helped a lot with that too.
Yeah. Well, and talking with Scott and Brad last week about the ACHA and how they're always, or more recently, they're churning out some really, really, really good talent. Speaking now as a coach, right, sitting behind the bench, how much are you focusing on the ACHA for your recruiting?
It's getting more and more, especially after watching the success that a team like Binghamton had with their heavy pool of ACHA talent. It's a talent pool that is sometimes easily overlooked.
Yeah.
You see that tag on a player, especially when you're looking at elite prospects, and you don't always know what you're getting. You don't know the schedule quality. Sometimes you'll see a number jump off the board and be like, wow, that's a lot of goals.
Yeah.
And then sometimes you'll see and it's like, that looks like an average amount of points.
Right.
But it's all dependent on some of these schools are playing schools that are really good, and it's every weekend's a battle similar to this. And I think the levels, they don't equate. This is a step up, but I think it's not as big as a jump as people might have thought it was.
Yeah, well, and especially when you've got teams like Lindenwood, who a couple years ago was an ACHA program, and now they're NCAA Division I. On that transition, they were playing teams who were NCAA Division I, and they were holding up against them. Yeah, so
lost the championship to Lindenwood, so yeah, I understand that.
Join the club. Did you have any plans to play after college, or did you kind of know, what was your kind of thought process? Because you did obviously end up playing after college.
I wanted to play after college.
Yeah.
It was something I definitely envisioned for myself. Probably around my sophomore year, it became like a reality of seeing some of my teammates go and play, which made my eagerness to do it a little bit more. I did have an extra year of school I probably could have done, but I decided to take the opportunity that I had at the time and play for the Carolina Thunderbirds, and I also don't regret that at all. That was a great organization to be a part of, and kind of got me into pro hockey, so I can't be more thankful for that. But it's just one of those things where it's every individual situation is a little different. It made the most sense.
Yeah, and your pro career spanned 6 seasons. You had a couple cups of coffee out in the SBHL as well, so ended up climbing the ladder. What was your transition like? You transitioned from junior to college, right? And then from college making the jump to professional hockey. So was it a big jump for you to go from that college level to pro hockey, or was it kind of an easier transition for you?
It's definitely a jump, especially from college. It's the whole entirety of the situation. It's the fact that, yet again, you're in this situation where you can get traded, you can get released, you can get called up, and it's kind of all, it is on you. You got to look in the mirror sometimes and be like, am I putting in to this what I want to get out of this? You know, what you get out of it, I do truly believe is what you put into it. I mean, obviously there's some players that are coming out of some programs that they're good, but like at the end of the day, those guys put in work. It's not like those guys are just showing up and they're just good. Everyone is working really hard behind the scenes, whether they're posting it on social media or not. And it kind of shows when we step on the ice who really wants to be where they are.
What's your hockey career like now? Are you playing any men's league? Are you going to be suiting up at practice, to rough the guys up a little bit, or
no,
what?
No, I play I joke around this summer. My summer league is my hockey league. So I play for the Howie's hockey team back up home.
There you go.
Shout out to the boys there. But yeah, we play hard then, but definitely I don't like to play during the winter. We're so busy with so many games. I'm watching so much film. We're on the ice enough. I don't see, and we don't. It's just a hard thing to do after playing for so long. Yeah,
understandable. Now, what made you want to get into the coaching side of it? Did you always want to kind of dabble into that, or was it something that you just kind of, out of the blue kind of figured out?
Yeah, I think like I talked about earlier with the junior hockey thing and kind of being introduced to the film side of things, I really was always intrigued by that. I saw the improvements that it did for my game, and I thought that, I noticed that not everyone is either doing it or getting that same attention from their programs or their coaches or individually. So coaching started there, and then, once you go through college, you start to play pro. The passion for the game definitely as a player sometimes starts to, you start to realize that, maybe I don't have the same, and it's not maybe the passion for the game itself, it's just what you as an individual can give to the game. And, as I was starting to dwindle down, I just felt that I wasn't the same player as I came into, and that, for some people that's okay. They can find a new role where I was, it didn't really settle with me, so I kind of wanted to find something else that I could, maybe be more successful at and maybe have bigger impact on the team. So, looking at this aspect of things, I thought this was something maybe if I gave a try at would, if I put my spin on a few things from the coaches that I've learned from, my mentors that I've, talked to and listened to throughout the years, come back to them and be like, do you guys think this would be a good idea? And they're like, we think you could do it if you approach it like this. And I have to constantly be reminded there's not one way to do this. There's not a perfect way to do anything necessarily, especially in coaching. Just like the game itself, mistakes are going to happen. But it's how you react to those errors and mistakes that ultimately is what success comes from. Yeah.
And you ended up getting to coach with Phil at Davenport. You were an assistant coach for just a little bit. How nice was that to be kind of your launching pad somewhere where you are so supremely comfortable, right? That was your home rink that was your bedroom basically for 4 years. You lived there. So how nice was that to be able to have that as your starting point?
It was huge. Phil did a great job of letting me be myself, but also giving me, he put on the parameters of here's what you're doing, here's your job. But then, he wanted me to be my authentic self. I have a lot of passion for the game at the end of the day. And whether or not it be always the best, how I exuberate that is one thing. But at the end of the day, it's passion it's contagious, and I think it can rub off on the guys if you present it in the right way. And it's talked about it earlier. It's a formula, right? Like you got to give it the right amount of push. I have to have the right amount of not only this, but, I also have to back it up with some X's and O's to get everyone to be on the same page. So I think you have to have a bit of both. You also, like I said, it helps.
Yeah. Well, and Phil and your coach over at and the NoJ were obviously a huge influence on you as far as being a coach. What were some of the biggest takeaways you had from both of them that kind of created the coach that you are now? And obviously you're going to evolve, but, what are some of the things that they instilled in you?
Well, beyond that, my dad was also like a high school coach for 30 years. So I've seen it since I was born, this side of things, the relationships you have to have with your players, the trust that's earned between the two of you. It's not just a one-way street. The player can maybe trust the coach, but if the trust isn't the same way, you might not get the same confidence out of that player. So I think it's one of those things where you can build your relationships as a coach with your players and really get that trust, and that camaraderie can kind of float through the rest of the team. It's one of those things. This level is interesting. There's that comfort level we talked about earlier, that the relationships are different. You want your guys to do well, and sometimes it's not always the positive reinforcement that they're looking for, but sometimes those hard conversations are what they really need to have to boost them to the next part of what they need to be at. And that's where those relationships really come to play. And I learned from all three of them, really, that aspect of it. And then, I look at Mark from when I was in Canada, strict on the precedence on structure. And then I look at Phil as passion and the relationships. And then my dad was always right in the middle. So I think you have to have that balance of all three, which really kind of, you have to dig into all three pockets some days, and every situation might be different. So having those perspectives helps, but at the end of the day, this league's even different than all those things. So there's some things that you just have to scratch your head about and think about for a long time. But it's a lot of fun too. At the end of the day, it's a different job, but it presents a lot of unique opportunities. But within opportunity, you can flourish, in my opinion. So
Now, how did the Zydeco job come about?
Back to the relationships. It's a small hockey community. I found word that the team wasn't necessarily doing that well. I was coaching at the time. Our season was just about to end, and another GM in the league and our president are close in contact a lot, and he suggested to give me a try, and that's kind of where we went with it. I think it was a big chance on someone that hadn't really proven it, but at the same time, it comes back to those relationships. I think the person that made that phone call knows what I can bring to the table, had seen it before in other places, and ultimately I'm very appreciative of that, because I really have grown to love this place, and it's something that I take a lot of passion in providing this community with something that they can be passionate about, because I'm so fired up about this, not only game, but this team. And, I want these people to come to the rink and have that same passion for this team. Yeah.
Well, we are all excited to see what the team has in store with you at the helm of it. So we're going to wrap things up right after this next commercial break. You are listening to the Zydeco Coaches Show at Queen Casino 1717 Restaurant.
The 2024-25 Broadway at the River Center Theater season is simply the best, featuring 4 big, bold Broadway hits coming to Baton Rouge. The season opens with Shrek the Musical, the Tina Turner Musical, Chicago the Musical, and Musical. Get the 4-show package for as little as $235. That's less than $59 per show. Learn more at RaisingCanesRiverCenter.com/Broadway.
Church Funeral Services will handle it all with care. Church Funeral Services.
Looking for the ultimate game day experience? Come to the Queen Casino in Baton Rouge. Savor game day platters and snacks, plus drink specials at 1717 Kitchen and Cocktails. Wall-to-wall, state-of-the-art TVs mean you'll see every touchdown, Hail Mary, and big turnover in crystal clear HD. Place your bets and feel the thrill of every play with our DraftKings Sportsbook. So come out for game day and let our team make you the MVP. The Queen Casino in Baton Rouge, where it's a win.
What's up, y'all? It's Brantley Gilbert here, and I can't wait to take the Off the Rails tour back out on the road this fall with my buddies Adam Calhoun and Demon Jones. We'll see y'all in Baton Rouge, Louisiana on October 10th at the Raising Cane's River Center. Get your tickets, and we'll see y'all there.
For over 90 years, Don's Seafood has been a Louisiana staple. From the finest Gulf catch to the most authentic Cajun recipes, our commitment to quality and tradition is who we are. Enjoy favorites like our gumbo, jacked up shrimp, seafood salad, steak, and of course, our signature seafood platter. Don's is more than just food. We're a celebration of flavor and family. From our team at Don's Seafood, we want to thank you for the last 90 years and cheers to many more together.
Run for Chirac, but he can't bury. Chirac grabs it back, curls away from his check, in behind the net, picks it up on his stick, and he gets the Michigan! Scott Chirac, a highlight reel goal! All right, welcome back to Queen Casino 1717 Restaurant, where we are wrapping up things here with Everett. Everett, thank you so much for being on today. Appreciate it.
Anytime.
Awesome. Well, we're going to be here once again next week. Same time, same place.
Every Wednesday.
Every Wednesday, yeah. We want to thank everybody for being here at the Queen's Casino. Thank you guys so much for turning out. Thank you to our staff who's been working here, all of our bartenders and our servers. You guys are great. We love you. Keep the drinks flowing. Thank you to Albert, Ryan, Mark, everyone behind the scenes who are making all this possible, and everybody tuning in on YouTube as well. We thank you. We love you. Good night, everybody.